here. Also really happy to moderate this session today of 45 minutes. The title, as Paulo already said, is Beyond Fauna and Flora and How Forest Preservation Can Drive Community Change to Preserve the Environment. This also personally is something that is for me very important. Also here in Switzerland, we have the Alps. We have also our fauna in our region, and the Alps or the snow in the Alps are melting. And I think we have also to act here in Europe as well as all around the globe to fight against the climate crisis. So I will start with the panel description about this topic. The growing global concern about the climate crisis among consumers is driving nations, cities, and companies to make net zero carbon emissions commitments. And many of these companies are counting on the purchase of carbon credits as part of their strategies for achieving it, driving demand upward. And this session calls up individuals, organizations, and policymakers to harness the immense potential of carbon credits, not only as a tool for carbon neutrality, but as a force for global good. So I would like to start with my first question. Maybe I will open the question to our two speakers we have today, to Fernanda and to Juan Carlos. What do you think? Maybe I will start with Juan Carlos. What do you think? What is the economic opportunity in that view that we can preserve our forests?
Thank you, Lazar. Thank you to everyone, and thank you for the invitation. One more time, I am Juan Carlos Hintiach. I am Executive Director of the Global Alliance, what is a global partnership, big platform for indigenous people, not only from the Amazon Basin, indigenous people, local community from Africa, Congo Basin, part of Asia, Mesoamerican, Caribbean. So according to your question, I would like to mention to you that for us, indigenous people from the Amazon Basin, at least we are indigenous organizations, we have always working and consolidate to make remark our rights. In the context of rights, respect the indigenous people rights. And then also we need to put in consideration that also we always put in the table the natural Mother Earth, the rights for the Mother Earth. So because we cannot separate as indigenous people, individuals from the forest, from biodiversity, from the rivers. We are part of one symbiosis. We are in unity. We are only one as indigenous people, and that connects with our spiritual point of view. This cosmovision is coming for many centuries, for many years. So in the way how we are related with the Mother Earth, with the nature, with the forest, don't have value, has a special value for us. As indigenous people, not only the Shuar, for many groups, even indigenous people, there are no contact, isolated, living for free in the rainforest. The rainforest or the forest means everything for us. So in that context, we live or we develop our plans of life. And it was our plans of life that we manage our resources, we connecting with these spiritual connections, and then we can separate where we can collect our food, where we're going to do our hunting, with the ceremonies, everything. So without our territory, we are nothing. So flora, fauna, biodiversity, integral, we cannot separate. We have a value. This is a more than economic value for us. This is everything for us. Connected with the land, connected with the territory and the resources. We are part of the one. We are integral cosmovision in one way to move forward. Rights of the people, rights indigenous people, and rights of the Mother Earth. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Juan Carlos. What is your view, Fernanda? You're also living in a country with a huge amount of Amazonian forest. How do you see, from your personal perspective, the importance of the forest and the preservation of the forests?
Yeah, thanks, Lazar, for the question. And once again, thank you. Thanks for organizing this summit. Thank you very much for the invite. Congratulations for the PGS team on organizing that. And just to say, it's an honor to be here and also sharing this panel with Juan Carlos, that I have a great admiration for all his work as a leadership in our Amazon region here. And to say that this topic, it's a very important topic, and it's also very important that is a topic being discussed in the various space. And I know that this space here that Prime Global Students providers, we are talking with a lot of people of a youth generation. That's very key to advance in solutions for the challenge that we face in relation to climate change and nature. And it's a great privilege to be here, having this conversation with you, and also listen from all the experience and expertise that Juan Carlos brings to this conversation. So in Brazil, we have the largest rainforest, the largest rainforest in the world, which is the Amazon rainforest. And I believe that the right management of this tropical forest could need to play an important role on climate change mitigation in the near future. As we know, forests, they absorb a vast amount of carbon dioxide, and at the second space, forests also can be a source of greenhouse gas emissions when they are destroyed or they are damaged. So tackling deforestation provides an important source of solutions for tackling the climate crisis and the biodiversity crisis that we live on. And also it's an important source of finance when you talk about results-based payments in the context of nature climate solution. So early on in previous years, countries, they have established the framework for receiving payments through the reduction of deforestation, which is the REDD+ framework. It's part of the Paris Agreement. So the REDD stands for reducing emissions from forest deforestation and degradation. And this has been developed in developing countries, and Brazil was a leader in developing this framework. So under this framework, with the REDD+ activities, developing countries, they would be able to receive reduced base payment for emissions reductions when they reduce deforestation. And this could serve as a major a major incentive for their efforts. So this REDD+ framework, has been actually 15 years in the make since this framework was initiated at COP13 in Bali in 2007. And since then, this framework has been further developed, and a lot of forest nations have been actively working to develop and deliver national REDD+ strategies to cut deforestation in the expectation of receiving these payments. We have a study that about Brazil, for example. It is a study coming from the Environment Defense Fund that says that eliminating deforestation, both illegal and legal, in the Amazon, in the Brazilian Amazon, in 10 years, could generate revenues of at least $18.2 billion through voluntary commitments and regulated carbon markets. So there is a potential there, and there is a potential social gains there to design policies that combat deforestation. But all of that, it's not viable, it's not feasible if it's not including the communities that live on the ground, the indigenous peoples that are there, that have been playing an important, such a vital role for years and years in protecting this forest and bringing all these communities to the center of a decision-making space where we are able to to reduce deforestation and to channel this finance. So I'll stop here, and
thank you very much.
Thank you.
Very interesting. My next question is also, thank you, Lenin, Vladimir, Guaya Delgado, for your testimonial. This also leads to my second question. You were talking about the indigenous people. You were talking about the different countries who, or which are the people who are working, and countries which are working differently, and sometime very, I think so, also separately. What do you think, or is there an organization who is, or which is working between the countries to preserve the forest? For example, in South America, and what can people do actively to preserve the forest? Because as Lenin and Vladimir said, that the problem is nowadays that people are doing everything illegal. They're just like cutting the trees, taking some parts of the vital forest we all as human beings need. What can we do? What can we do as individuals, and what are different countries in coordination? What they're doing actually?
Okay, thank you for the question. I think so that today is an urgent call that indigenous people are mentioning in solidarity, because for many years, indigenous peoples and local communities, and now Afro-descendants and the United Nations, we are making some categorizations, and we divided in several regions globally speaking. And then they are mentioned as indigenous people, local communities, and Afro-descendants. But in my region, in Amazon Basin in particular, in 9 countries in South America and the other tropics, the main value that we need to recognize as indigenous people, they did the effort to get organized themselves. Organization, they build their own self-organization. The structure of the governance. This is very key to recognize, because we have a lot of challenge, we have a lot of threats, difficulties, we have many. And then that's why we have some principles that in these demands, in this long work, bringing our demands in the context of respect our rights, recognize our contribution. Because even the science, until right now, they recognize where is the more pristine ecosystems and biodiversity, the more pristine forests until today, is where the indigenous people, we are living for centuries there. That's why we have a lot of threats with illegal logging, mining, etc., etc. And then that's why always I'm going to talk of behalf of my people. No more criminalizations, no more persecute leaders, because we asking in the self-determination, yes or no, we asking the consultation, the right to ask. When you go in your different house, you ask permission of what you are going to do in your house. I mean, this is the right to be transparent, honest, solidarity, transparency. That's what we call in the mark of the rights. So there is a network, there is organizations network, like in each country, they have a national organizations. There's an organization, the first level, second level, and the global context. So in each in Brazil, we have a PIB, or we have the Amazonia, the Coyabe, we have in other countries their own structure. So that helps to organize ourselves. And then we have our democracy ourselves. We elect leaderships. We rotate leaderships, women, elders, the youth, everyone. Nobody we can leave them behind. We always work in collective. So that is the urgent call right now to preserve all the context of the rainforest or forest, includes flora, fauna, integral. We cannot separate. So that's why these the systems, the way of life, has to be recognized. Until today, some articles or some groups, some good partners, they're helping to bring our demands, the contested rights, but also it's important to call this solidarity because we don't have more time. I mean, we need to do actions and to move forward, to work together. That is the best way to articulate and to work in network. So we are organized, we are welcome to have this articulation and to ask solidarity, to work in this platform with different actors, you know, also to work with partners who has some specializations to do some research in human rights or biodiversity research, etc., but respecting people, respecting rights in different arena, in different contexts. Thank you.
Thank you, Juan Carlos. Do you have to add something, Fernanda?
Yeah, I think that when we talk about tackling this challenge, for example, of reducing deforestation, and we cannot achieve, for example, Paris goals if we do not reduce deforestation. We are talking about the action of various actors in our society. We are talking about having the protagonism of IPLC, indigenous peoples and local communities. We're talking about the forest government when they implement public policy to cut deforestation. We are talking about who is providing the finance, channeling the finance to make these actions possible. And on that topic, we have traditionally, we have been seeing that a lot of donor governments and multilateral organizations have been traditionally channeling financing to support countries in their efforts of protecting their forests. And when we talk climate finance and more specific nature-based solutions, we know that there is a new actor that is gaining momentum, and this is the private sector. These are the corporates. So we know that there is a growing number of sustainability strategies across corporations in the various sectors that are, for example, committed to net zero emissions by the mid of the century. So even in countries worldwide where there is no regulation that would force these companies to reduce their emissions, even so, companies are putting together more structured plans to reduce their carbon emissions and in a voluntary way. So, for example, we have at the UN Race to Zero, and they provide some data with the World Economic Forum and others that says that even during the pandemic, net zero commitments almost double, for example, in 2020. So, and there is this major commitment from this new actor that is providing this finance. And I would say that this commitment, arises from three major forces. First, there is a set of shareholders and investors that are putting some financial pressures on the companies so that they adopt their sustainability strategies and have net zero targets. A second one is customers. So, for example, if I'm a consumer for products from a given company, the younger generations, more specifically, they are tending to look if for example, these products are sustainable sourced, or what this company has in terms of sustainability strategy when I'm deciding to purchase a good or other good. And the third one, I think that there is this sustainability is nowadays becoming a matter for talent acquisition in companies. So when you are hiring someone, the young people, they would like to work in organizations that have concerns about sustainability, that have sustainability targets. So all of this is bringing these new actors beyond the traditional actors that we have in this arena to the center of these commitments. So, and part of the vast portfolio of climate solutions that these corporates, these companies have on the table is to use to channel finance for nature climate solutions, for example, through the purchase of carbon credits. So this means that there is, like, we can talk further in the next question about how companies would use that, but in how, what's the role that companies could have in that space. But it's very important that these companies that are financing this are reducing their own emissions, because it doesn't help to achieve climate goals if the company is channeling finance to protect forests, for example, if they are not reducing their own emissions in their value chains. And also if the companies, they are purchasing or channeling finances to territories that respect social and environmental safeguards and have the IPLC involved in this process.
Thank you, Fernanda. Juan Carlos, you want to add something?
Yes, it's very important what Fernanda is mentioning. That is bringing me some ideas, some in my memory with, because I've been leading and pushing a lot under. Well, I mean, we know that what is going on, and the sign is saying what's going on, and we as indigenous people, we are always mentioning this. We have our own traditional knowledge, and we have our systems to monitor what the changes, what's happening in this urgent demand, because we are in disaster. We don't have more time, but in that context, many of my brothers and sisters in this long walk, bringing our demands and petitions and on the context of rights on behalf of the rights of natures, always we create special platforms, especially we did in Paris Agreement. We create this platform, high-level platform for local communities, indigenous people to share knowledge. But this platform and share knowledge, I mean, we create in a good faith with governments and other international or multilateral institutions, science organizations, scientific groups also. So the momentum to move forward, to do actions, right? So in that context, I think so that we need to remark and to understand and to really to follow up how we want to move forward. I think so the compromise as indigenous people, a local community, we are really doing. I mean, this compromise that we are really living there, a cause of what? I mean, that is something that we want to be civilized, and the governments, they need to realize that we are actors, right holders, and stakeholders. And we don't see the Mother Earth or the nature just an object, which is a part of our life. In that context, I think so, if we want to create another alternatives in different areas, ecosystem, because some ecosystems are very sensitive, very special. And we know that. I mean, we know when some animals are going to drink some water and with the salt water there, we know this with signals. But everything is changing with this crisis in this planet, right? So we know that. But how we want to contribute this is that we are doing a lot of effort. We want to contribute to the society. That's why I'm pushing to create these channels of dialogue and to develop together with the governments and multilateral actors also to do this plan together in context to respect our vision, cosmic vision, because I know how I'm going to manage my land because I grew up in my ecosystem. I'm going to talk with other leaders who are living in the middle of the forest in Brazil or the other ecosystem, in the middle of the 3 countries. We don't have frontiers, barriers. And we are connected for many, many centers. This is something that we want to contribute to the world. We want to contribute to the society. to the new partners, students and academia. That is why we create this platform with a good faith. So how we can use these instruments or mechanisms is that depends to the actors. I mean, the countries are the owners of these places. We are part of these places like COPs or big platforms, international platforms. They make decisions, right? And also the compromise. They know they need to be more transparent and serious, and no always sometimes maybe can be rude, but the hypocrisy sometimes is fierce in the line. I mean, for many years, the pledge, the compromises to reduce this the climate crisis, you know. So as indigenous people, we don't have to have any doubt. I mean, we are part of this solution. We are already giving our life, giving everything, our knowledge to the society, and we want to contribute. And that is why any solidarity, any connection with what we are doing is welcome. My final point here is that it's very important to remark and reconsider and to make and keep pushing to this decision making.
You're now, yeah.
Can you hear me? How
Yes.
they are going to make this issue depends on all of us. All of us, we are key in this process. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Juan Carlos. I really like that fire, that you fight for something you love, you grew up, and I really can feel that even on the other side of the world where I'm sitting right now. So I will open the floor to all our guests. Maybe you have some questions for our expertises sitting here. Just feel free to unmute yourself and then to ask your question if you have some. Or maybe something to add, not a question, maybe something to add from your country, where you live, from your experience, from your point of view.
May I say something here also?
Of course, of course.
I think so. I think so that these kind of dialogues are very important, but also after the COVID, the pandemic, I mean, we have a lot of loss. I mean, we lose leaders. We have a lot of problems. In solidarity of that, I think so that people need to realize that somehow we need to connect this message. Why is happening this? And people need to be more connected as a human, as a person. And I know that we are very busy. I know that we have different parts of the world, but at the end of the day, there are points that we need to connect between us with the planet we have it. Any action positive that you are doing in different part of the world, that contributes in a good way. We, as I mentioned again, we are indigenous people. For many million people, we are doing effort and surviving and fighting and protecting. We are doing our homework. Sometimes with no resources. Yeah, with minimal resources. Imagine with the resources that you can canalize with some groups for women to develop these good practices in a good way. So my call for the governments and other actors to make the decisions, they can make some changes. It's possible to do it. But I think so. I will push to create these roundtable discussions in each country, in different levels. Even that I don't think the same, but I always ask respect. I always respect to listen my thesis, my contribution, who I am. And sometimes this is important to know each other, to move forward, to create this balance of to notch the process and the test. And then we can create alternatives and share. Because sometimes maybe I need some initiatives in the Amazon. Some other indigenous groups are managing in Asia, in Africa, or in Arctic. I don't know. But for many centers, we are connected. We need to help that to proceed, to survive as a human being, as a human person in that context, and respect and solidarity. That's my call. And then we can do beautiful things, amazing things for the planet and for resources. People don't need to have a big, huge houses in the middle of the forest or roads in the middle of the forest. No. Maybe that group doesn't want that, doesn't need that. You know, they need to live free, secure, and in balance. And we need to ask them. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Juan Carlos. I just want to share what I have learned, that the sand of the Saharan desert is flying with the wind to the Amazonian rainforest, that the Amazonian rainforest is connected or exists only because we have the Saharan desert, and also the weather in maybe Europe or Northern America is also depending on the rainforest in the Amazonian region. And that's exactly what you said, Juan Carlos, that we don't have to think locally, we have to think globally, we have to come together, we have to work together. And I think also that's what PRIME stands for, what PRIME wants to achieve, that we all like-minded people come together, listen, learn, connect, share our values, share our thoughts and our threats, what we have for the future, and then find solutions and go the right way to change and make our world a better place. Thank you very much. Does anybody else has a question? We have a few minutes left, or Fernanda has to say something. Perfect.
Just to add something to what Juan Carlos said, and I think that this is something that that indigenous peoples have been showing us for years and years, but now we are realizing this as human beings, is that all the benefits that protecting forests could bring to us as humanity. And this goes beyond, I'm not talking here about, for example, carbon that's been much discussed, right? But it goes far beyond carbon. It goes like, it can support socio-economic development on the ground. It can empowering communities, can bring a lot of benefits in terms of cultural benefits, biodiversity benefits, protecting water areas. I was 2 days ago, I was reading in a Brazilian newspaper, Juan Carlos, and there was 2 different articles saying the same thing, that we need to value standing forests, but from 2 completely different perspectives. The first one was talking about public health. How, when we have forests conserved, this helps to improve public health in urban areas. When, for example, we have native areas in urban areas, this improves public health, reduces, for example, anxiety levels of the population, reduces stress level of the populations. And the other article was using another perspective. They were talking about the nature, tourism for the nature, how tourism in Brazil has increased a lot to places where nature is preserved. So how tourism in Brazil, for example, for the Amazonian region, or for our kind of savanna here that's called Cerrado, has increased a lot, especially after the pandemic, where people was locked in their houses. They were missing this contact with nature, and now all they want to do is travel to places where there is nature because they feel better in that places. So if you look to each area in a society, and from each different perspective, we're going to see value in nature, and this can bring us everyone together, independent if you are a community based on the forest, or if you are a urban person. This can bring everyone together to the same goal and to the same objective.
Thank you. Thank you for the conclusion. Do you have to add something, Juan Carlos? We'll come near to the end.
No, and thank you, Fernanda, for mentioning that. I just want to mention that you permit me here to memorize this long walk from my elders, the leaders. They've been trying to bring the concerns, the demands from the ground, and also we know that we cannot do alone this. And we learned in this process. And also there is a good momentum of a change that we need to take in a good way, how to cooperate. For example, always when I talk to some leaders from the government, I say, give me the chance to see how we can do this together in a good way, respecting, listening, and trying to be part of this project. The project that maybe you have it, but I can add it or I can contribute. But let me be part for this. And that's why free pre-informed consent. Let me participate from the beginning. Don't get with any surprise, or I wake up in my community in front with concessions, illegal concessions, or I have to move because the land was over solid, over, doing business. But this is something that we don't like it. So the governments, the leaders, they can make the difference, because we give the power to them to control one government, one country, but also they need to know that we are part of this monitoring or to watch these decisions, because we want to be safe. I mean, there is a huge problems in different ecosystems, different areas. So people are asking security, people are asking solidarity. And the best way, my way, is to work together in collective, and we need to trust. We ask always, because we can be talking with other sad histories, but also just always to remind that we want to work in the context of the rights. But also we want to remind that we can contribute with good initiatives. We are there, we are here, we are part of this process, and we want to ask this solidarity and work together. And thank you.
Thank you very much. I would like to sum up to come to an end. Thank you very, very much for your contributions. It was crucial for us, for me personally. To sum up, the forest preservation can be a catalyst for positive community change by offering economic opportunities, education, as we said, also empowerment, and a stronger voice in our environmental decision-making. Also by engaging local people, indigenous people, as you said, or communities as partners, not only individuals, but as partners on the same level in forest preservation, is not only essential for the well-being of these communities, but also critical for the long-term health of our planet's ecosystem. Thank you very, very much. We'll come to the end, and I wish you also a good night, a good day, whatever time you have in your time zone. All the best for your work, all the best for your future, and don't stop, never give up, and I hope we can make this world a better place. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Bye.
Thank you. Bye. Pleasure. Take care. Bye.
Thank you.